Few essay topics strike as much fear into the heart of the MBA applicant as the failure essay. In this video, I'm going to walk you through the two biggest mistakes I see people make in this essay. And here's a sneak peek. The first is not talking about an actual failure, and the second one is throwing somebody else under the bus. And who am I to be giving you this advice? Hi, I'm Maria. I'm a 2005 graduate of Harvard Business School. I'm a former board member of the elite admissions consulting society known as AGAC, and I'm the founder of Applicant Lab. And what's Applicant Lab? It's the revolutionary self-guided admissions platform. If, when you start approaching your MBA application, you get this sort of lost, going in circles feeling, relax. Applicant Lab guides you through step by step, making that stress just go away. It replaces the need for expensive admissions consultants, and it's the only admissions service endorsed by the Harvard Business School student newspaper. So, back to mistake number one, not talking about an actual failure. There are two different flavors of this mistake, and flavor number A, is what I call the humble brag in disguise. And what are some examples of this? Here's one. I often fail at work-life balance. I'm constantly on call for my boss and my colleagues who ask things of me at all hours. Here's another example. I recently failed to properly explain the instructions for the project. Given my extensive expertise in building these apps, I forgot that my colleagues are at a lower level of understanding than I am. Bleh, barf. These are gross examples. Hopefully listening to them made you feel a little bit uncomfortable. And why is that? It's because the humble brag is when somebody tries to position something that they are secretly very proud of as a weakness. So in the first example, when the person was saying, oh, I don't have any work-life balance, my boss and my colleagues are constantly calling me, is that really a failure? Of course not. What does that person actually want you to know? Well, they actually want you to know that they are indispensable to their team. And so it's really a humble brag. Look at how hard I work. The other example that I used had someone who wanted to actually secretly get across how smart they are. Look at me, I'm so much smarter than everyone else. So the failure was that I didn't explain things well enough. So those other morons that I work with couldn't follow me. They couldn't keep up. This backfires tremendously because admissions officers are really smart people and they can sniff out a humble brag from a mile away. The second flavor of this mistake is what I call talking about a baby mistake. And what's an example of that? Oh, look, it's a little tiny baby. Because of this, the SVP's coffee was served a little bit less hot than she normally likes it. Also, I chipped a nail while getting it. Or here's another example. Due to my oversight, the email I sent to my colleague had a minor typo in it. Now, why are both of these examples baby mistakes? Because, let's be honest, there's no real consequence to this mistake. These are not actual failures. They're minor errors, temporary setbacks, or teeny-weeny little mistakes. But they are certainly not failures in the actual adult, grown-up sense of the word. So, what should you write about instead? You need to write about an actual failure, and an actual failure is something where there were real consequences. What's the second mistake I see all the time? I call this the throwing someone else under the bus mistake. This is when you try to put some or all of the blame for the failure on somebody else. Here's an example. My team recently failed to launch our new app on time. Okay, that's a promising start. That's not a humble brag. That's not a baby mistake, right? Failing to launch an app on time, that does have real consequence. But in the second sentence is where this falls apart. This is because the UI designer missed the deadline by 5 days. So what is this person doing? This person is describing an actual failure that they were a part of, but look at how they're putting some of the blame on somebody else. It's like, oh no, look out, here comes a bus, ah! You're smushing the other person and you're trying to avoid the blame yourself. So what should you write about instead? A failure where you were actually to blame, where you either did something that was wrong or you failed to do something that was right. Now, if this level of honesty makes you a little bit uncomfortable, that's the reason people hate this question so much. They hate it because they're worried about what is the admissions office going to think if they realize that I made this huge mistake or that I should have done this big thing and I didn't do it. Don't worry. AdComs reward maturity and honesty. You will actually get what I call maturity points if you actually own up to a real failure. Not a humble brag, not a baby failure, a real failure where you were to blame. I hope this advice has been helpful for you. If you'd like even more guidance, make sure to check out Applicant Lab. There's a free trial and everything. Thank you so much.